Daylight Special.
Hey, Dukesters. Got a new nickname for the chat, Dukesters. I bet they hate
Did you just come up with that?
it. Just real quick, thinking about it.
Oh, good, because it sucked. So it's good
I know,
that
it's
you
like the
weren't working on
Hulksters,
it.
you know what I mean? Like the Hulk Hogan Hulksters in the 80s. We're
Oh.
talking about the 80s, baby. The 80s. So
You know
it's
what?
going to be
They
good
might have had
tonight.
a Hulk Hogan cartoon in the 80s.
They did. I think they did. They had the WWE. Let me look at that up. Oh my gosh, you just gave me another idea. Thank you. I'm pretty sure they had the WWF All Stars or whatever.
Dude, there might have been, and this might be 90s though, but wasn't there a Wayne Gretzky, Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan cartoon? Something like that?
I don't know, but look at this. Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, 1985.
Yeah, I can picture it now that you named
It was
it.
awesome. It had everybody.
Was
Here,
it
I'll do
Mr.
it.
T in it?
I'll do it. I'll open image in a new tab. Okay. So let me share this. We're going to get into other cartoons. Well, let's hold on to this. Let's not share it yet.
The
Okay.
Man, Mo with the knowledge
Look at that.
coming out right
I know.
out.
Love it. I love it. Crazy Mad said, I hate that chat name. Anyway, I knew you'd hate it, but that's all in the fun, right? It's a love-hate relationship we have with everybody anyway. It's all good. So today I just want to start talking a little bit about, I hope you guys caught it, with Pete Sameti's channel, I was on the art auction. So, and here's Dean.
We're
what are we
actually
hating?
not hating anything.
So you're hating that I called you the Dukesters.
Oh, he is right. We were.
Yeah, Dukesters. I called everybody in the chat the Dukesters. Anyway, it's just fun. We're in the 80s, so I was calling you the Hulksters from Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling cartoon, which was tons of fun. Oh, I think it might stick. Here's what's so funny. Okay, so he goes, ew. So anyway, back to the story.
Oh, my little Dukesters out there running wild.
So I was in Pete Sameti's show, and I was in his auction over on Saturday night, and I was in there with the likes of Rod Looper and Preston Acevedo and Keir Covington and Frankie B. Washington, right? Isn't that his name? And I think I got names right. Some other guys from Alterna, and it was a load of fun. First off, just want to say that I loved it. I thank you to Pete for having me on because it was pretty awesome to be invited amongst the caliber of artists that I was in there with. So I just got to say, huh?
You made some money.
I did. I made money. Everything I wanted to sell, I sold except for one thing. And that's pretty damn good. It's my first auction. And everybody was buying. And they did an awesome job. Dude, they had a Preston Acevedo. I hope I'm saying his name right. They had a piece of his go up for like $600, dude. It was friggin' awesome. And it was great to be a part of that. So, but holy shit. Do you guys know how much shipping is? To ship a piece of paper, a piece of cardstock, or, an 11 by 14 was going to cost me $30. I only made 25 off of one of those pieces. And I'm
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Yeah.
In America?
Yeah. To North Carolina.
That can't be right.
No, I'm not kidding. There's
no way.
So I went to Pack Mail, and that's what they tried to charge me. So then I went to our UPS store, and they were going to charge $15 to $20 for it. So I was sitting there thinking, what do? I think this is because of materials. So I've got to go get my own materials. So that's what I'm doing. So anybody out there, if you guys are watching and
let's just take a road trip to North Carolina and deliver it to ourselves.
Right, it would be cheaper. So, but anyway, if I owe you a piece of art, I am going to get it to you I'm going to get it shipped out this week, but I need to go get my packing supplies myself.
Did you ever ship that thing to Amanda that she won? Because
that'll be part of it. It's going out this week. So I'm including her in some of this, and I've talked to her already about it. And so she'll be getting her piece. And
Wait a minute. Dean just called me Murphette. Now that pisses me off. Of all the things, give me a Murphette.
You're in Murphette. No, you got to call me the Dirkster. I'm not the Dukester. I'm the Dirkster. The Dirkster and Murphette. I like that. Murphette.
He just kicked Dirk out and just gave you the Duke it for some reason.
I'm cool with that. Dukester sounds cool too.
What the hell?
Not as cool as Dirkster.
What the fuck? Murphette.
I love it. So far I win.
Somebody kick comics, mate. Get him out of here.
You're the Dukester. Oh, he says it too. Oh, that's too funny. So anyway, I just got to say, I feel for everybody having to ship things out there. I cannot believe the prices. I was by a guy, I was getting my stuff ready and weighed to see how much it would cost to ship this out. And, it's a piece of paper. That's all it is. It's a piece of cardstock that I was going to mail out. And you got to think, when you add that for $30, that's what they're charging to take that across the country.
That's nuts.
And so then this guy had a piece of plastic. It was like a banana seat he was going to mail out. And so it was like this big, 2 feet, 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And it was going to cost him $100 to ship something like that out. $100. And I just thought to myself, what are they doing? Like, this can't be viable for anybody anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth anybody to be able to ship out,
Oh, screw you, crazy mad.
So what's the point? It's like Smurfette, but without the S.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome. So anyway, tonight we have a good show for you guys, I think. We're going to be talking about 80s cartoons.
Whoa.
We're going over this. Hold on. We're talking about the 80s cartoons.
Huh?
Last week, Murph covered the 90s cartoons. So here's what we're going to do. So tonight, I'm going to show you some stuff based on the 80s, cartoons that were released in the 80s. We may talk about cartoons that were released in other eras, but they're going to be secondary to what's released in the 80s, just so you all know. Why? What were you saying? No, whoa, all that too.
Well, we should start doing previously on Murph and Dirk, like previously on the X-Men.
That's a great segment.
Yeah. Well,
it is.
Things. One's going back a couple about you talking about The Last of Us, episode 3.
Okay.
And the gay stuff. And then last week was from talking about Gargoyles. I watched all 5 episodes of Gargoyles, and I watched The Last of Us, episode 3. So first going with Gargoyles,
so you're caught up.
That was last week. Gargoyles is awesome. Like, it really does hold up. And I just watched 5 episodes.
I agree with you. I did get to watch the Gargoyles. I have the original VHS, like in the box when it came in this big oversized box. It was really cool.
But it doesn't
it was a
look
good cartoon.
Like Disney made it an actual movie, those first 5 episodes, because the animation isn't movie quality.
No, but they released it as a whole, and then they broke it up into the cartoon later. That's how they released it. They released it as the movie. But
they definitely never had it in the theaters.
No, it was released as a movie on VHS. I
kind of wish they did, though.
Yep, and then it got released as a cartoon later. So,
I'm not saying the animation's bad, but it's not like Beauty and the Beast or Lion King. How is Amanda not getting this?
All right.
We talked about 90s last week.
Yeah, 90s was last week. Yeah. 80s is this week.
I don't know why.
Then next week they're going to duke it out to see who wins between the 80s and 90s, and I already know who's going to win, so it's okay.
No, you don't. Shut up.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Now the other thing is, people were razzing on Derek, saying episode 3 of The Last of Us was super gay. I went into it
This is ridiculous.
Derek, chill.
What? I'm just laughing.
So I know, but it's hard to talk when you're laughing.
I can't help it. It's just too funny because it takes me back.
There was 2 sides of The Last of Us episode 3. Derek thought it was well written, and the chat thought it was super gay and woke. I tried going into it not thinking either way, and then just took it as it was as an episode. And I'll say my opinion, Derek, it was super gay. Like, it really was gay and woke. And I'll
Okay.
say
You think it?
this.
Wait,
This is
are you
what
serious? So you
I'm being
actually think
serious.
it was super woke?
Yes, for
Okay.
multiple reasons. For multiple
All right.
reasons.
All right.
One, having gay people left in population would be super rare. Because it's
Yeah.
all gay people right now are only a couple percentage.
I get that. I get that.
Two gay guys then meeting, how they meet is ridiculous.
Quiet,
And
Dukester.
I
Murphet's
hate
about
this
to come
Murph
out.
thing. You know, the chat has made fun of me in so many ways, called me retarded. None of this
That's
stuff's
so
ever
good.
bothered me.
So
But
good.
then this whole Murphette thing, for
I
whatever
know.
reasons, pissing me off.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hey, we have to say hello to the chat, by the way. I mean, we got,
okay.
so let's go through. We got AGE Comics. We got B Rose. We got Amanda, Mo Biggs, and Crazy Mad in the house, and Dean. Did I get everybody?
And sorry if we missed anybody.
I
We're a little
did.
flustered with the chat, calling us Dookie and Murphette. Stupid.
Dukester, not Dookie. Only one person said
No,
Dookie.
they had Dookie. I saw the Dookie.
Only one person.
Dude, if I'm getting Murphette, you're getting fucking Dookie, okay?
Oh, I'm not gonna be able to talk.
And
Oh shit!
I'm on the chat side here with this super woke gay stuff of The Last of Us. Dude, no spoilers, but they both die.
Hey,
so
all I can say is I set you up for a perfect stream, and you were boring. That's all I can say.
Boring.
I don't know.
Look at all the people we got here now. It was because of last week.
Okay, so we got question of the week. Let's move on to the question of the week right now.
That too, yeah.
So Crazy Mad's question of the week. Would you rather your shirts be always 2 sizes too big or 1 size too small? That's easy.
Yeah, 2 sizes too big.
Yeah, who wants too small? I mean, that's uncomfortable, looks bad. When you yawn, you know, your belly flops out. You don't want none of that.
It's easier to rip.
Yep. Yeah, that's easy.
Now, I'd say if I was built, like if I had tons of muscles, yeah, 1 size too
Oh,
small.
yeah. Then you'd want the small.
That's not, no. So.
Yep. You should have gone 2 sizes too small, Crazy Mad.
Why? No, that would be worse.
I mean, if you.
Yes to that, you can't even breathe then. You gotta get a corset.
Yeah. Mo says, besides that question's boring to Dirk, he cares more about wearing tight pants to show off for the Bills and Franks of the world. I love it so much. Oh, you guys are the best. Anyway.
I love that we're the straightest show.
Look. I wasn't fully invested last week, Murph. It was a boring solo stream. See? This is what I'm talking about.
Well, it brought the people in. You know, look at all these people who got coming in.
Amanda said she's just kidding. I was multitasking, so I really wasn't paying much attention.
Clearly, since she's asked the same question on Twitter for like 7 days straight, and then still comes here and asks it again.
Now Dean's got me nervous. You should check Twitter, Dookie.
You think he put our names on like
he probably did. Go see Twitter. Go see, you know, Dookie and Murphette talk about 80's cartoons.
Well, so. Crazy Matt's talking about one size too small for the ladies. Well, yeah, but you asked us what we would want.
Oh, here we go. Dookie and Murphette. It's official. Dirk is the Dukester, Dookie for short. That's too good. This is new, you know, what do you call it? You know, like part of our lore now.
Son of a bitch.
So, Fuck Walrus says, super gay and woke Murph's next book coming out of the closet. All right. Well, Hale, thanks for coming to the show. All right.
I don't know why did you see Amanda? Amanda, yes, I replied directly to your tweet.
All right. Hold on. I'm behind. Look at this. What do you think of the newest episode promoting communism?
I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind, so. In that 3rd episode, I was extremely bored, so.
Yeah, it was kind of promoting communism, and I mean, the main character kind of looks at it funny and doesn't love it, but the other people were like, "Yeah, communism's great." So I did see that, and I do agree with you on that.
I don't understand that. Like,
yeah,
we have enough communism examples in real life history. Like if you don't put rosy glasses on it, no, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah, right. It's pretty crazy. Did she get an answer on Twitter, Murph? I didn't get any notifications. So
yes.
Okay.
Go right to your tweet. I replied right.
There's no defending it. Just admit you were wrong. So gay porn and communism is the Dukester's jam. Well, not communism. Okay. All right.
Oh
Dean.
my God. I can't believe that was your answer.
Well, you know what?
I mean,
I agreed with Dean about the communism. I agree about the communism.
You didn't say anything against gay porn, but went to the communism part.
You can only say so much. I mean, what can you do? After a while, you can't stop. You can't fight it anymore. You just gotta, go on. Now Dean's laughing. Well, not communism. I knew it'd get a laugh out of you at least, so that's good. I did my job. So now he's saying Murphette's making sense tonight. New name, new you. Oh, this is too good, man. Too good. Shit. Okay, so we actually have a show for you. I'm
pretty fucking happy on this stream. I'm like in a bad mood to get a different side of me.
All right. So you guys had some favorite 80s cartoons, right? Or were you all too young? I know some of you were not too young to watch cartoons in the 80s.
Well, I think even like you said, in the 90s, there were some 80 cartoons that were still being played on repeat. Like the Gummy Bears.
Yeah.
I would have thought they were 90s.
Well, I mean, Turtles were between the 80s and 90s. So really they're an 80s cartoon when they came out, but they ended in the 90s, that first run. So they straddle both decades. What can you do?
Dude, stop straddle. I swear like you do this on purpose. Like
I think doesn't matter. You could say any word, and as long as it's weird, you guys go,
Oh, that was close.
Like you're 5. I know. Does anime count? And I would say, it depends on what anime you're talking about, because like Voltron is anime, right? So, but I would consider anime like 80s cartoons.
Wait, what anime was in the 80s, first of all?
Akira?
I don't know what that is.
What? That's like the biggest anime of all time.
I don't know what that is. I know Sailor Moon.
Wow, because the right answer is Dragon Ball Z, which came out in 1989. So see that? Look, Dragon Ball Z is even in the 80s.
Oh, shit. I would have swore that was 90s.
Looks like I won the Decade War, right?
Well, we'll find out next week, because I still got some big ones to bring out.
I mean, really, to be honest, some of the biggest cartoons of all time came out in the 80s. And that's why we're doing this show, because I think it was actually the greatest era of cartoons. And for a lot of reasons, but for probably 6, 7, well, maybe 10 reasons. But I'm going to give you those tonight. Let me get to a good picture. Just to give you guys a taste. So we were talking about this Akira, right off the bat.
It doesn't seem like they agree with you on the Akira thing.
What?
The chat's talking about Akira.
Oh, you don't think it's the biggest one of all time?
6 out of 10.
Damn, dude. I mean, I would think it would be probably the most known out of all.
That's not Akira. That's definitely.
That doesn't mean you like it. No, this is what we were talking about earlier, which is Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. And so, no, hey, so Akira was a solid 6 out of 10. I'm not saying it's the best. So if you guys are thinking I'm saying it's the best, that's not what I mean. It's probably the biggest of all time, though. It's the most popular, well-known, I would say. I mean, Dragon Ball Z is pretty big. What?
Thundercats was great.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet. But this is just one of the things that came out in the 80s. Look at those wrestling gods.
Who's the guy with the money, the blue money thing? Who the heck is that?
I don't know who that is.
Like, because you'd think $1 Million Man would be the money guy, right? Like,
Yeah, but he's not.
no, that's not him. That's not Ted DiBiase.
Nope. Jimmy Superfly Snuka's right behind on the right side.
Yeah, in front of Junkyard Dog and Andre the Giant.
Uh-huh.
And I think is Piper the one in the back?
Rowdy, yeah.
I think, right? Because he's
Yeah,
just
that's what it
normal
looks
white
like.
dude. So I'm thinking that's Piper.
Okay, they might be better than Akira, Dean, but I don't know, man. Akira started.
I mean, Pokemon was fucking huge, dude.
I know, but so he's saying Dragon Ball Z, Attack on Titan, Death Note, Demon Slayer, Pokemon are all bigger than Akira.
I mean, I know all of those. I've never heard of Akira.
But the reason why I'm saying is I would say Akira is probably the most influential. It started everything. Like it's the one that was like, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, that's what everybody talked about. You didn't talk about all these other things until later. I would say, Pokemon came out, and it is big, but it was after the fact. It was after Akira, and Akira had already laid a big foundation before that ever got on, came out. So it may not be the biggest. That's not what I'm saying at all, or even the best. But it could be, I would probably say it's the most influential.
The chat's on fucking fire tonight. Like,
I know they are. Hell, Digimon's better than Akira.
Digimon.
No fucking
I remember
way.
Digimon. I thought
Get out of here, Digimon being bigger. Ted DiBiase is still Mid-South Wrestling when the show came out.
So, Mo, who's the guy with the money then, though? Who is that?
Yeah.
I can't think of that. Like, he's blue and black. I have no idea.
I love it. I love the eyes, B-Rose. So let me remind Murphette and Dukester that we're discussing 80s cartoons, not Weebery. Yeah, I agree with that. So let's stop this. So that's Hulk Hogan.
I want to know who the blue dollar guy was.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. So let me give you some more. Let's share some more. What do we got here? Here we go. What about this? How about that?
That's not Jimmy Hart.
Oh, yeah. That's the Super Friends. Now, Super Friends started in the 70s, but they released a brand new cartoon that was kind of revamped in the 80s. So they had the Super Friends, but then they came out with this where they were more pitted against,
So is this the one where they had the twins in purple and one would turn into a bucket and the other would turn into a cat? Or is that?
Yeah, but that was in the 70s. They came out. Yeah, the Wonder Twins came out on that. They even had that weird kid in the white outfit he almost looked like Shaggy, and he had a dog too. It was really weird, but not as cool. This was just like the normal Super Friends hour, and it was just a revamped version of what had already come out.
And they always had Robin on too, right? Wasn't Robin?
Yeah,
one of their bigger.
Oh yeah. I still can't believe we haven't had a real movie on this. Like, if you're going to do a Justice League movie, this would be the way to go. I don't understand why we don't have that.
Why don't we ever get Batman with the blue cowl, with the gray? You know what I mean? He was blue forever, right?
So, I mean, not that anybody cares, okay? So just so you guys know, I'm not promoting this, but that new Flash teaser. It had blue Batman, and if you slow it down, he is blue in that. So I think they're trying to do that, but nobody's going to give a shit.
Michael, you're saying Keaton was, or there was a different Batman?
Nah, it's probably going to be Affleck's Batman. Is my guess.
Yeah, because Affleck's definitely in it.
So you're saying the money guy is probably Jimmy Hart?
No, though. Why would that be Jimmy Hart?
I thought Jimmy Hart didn't he have a
microphone?
A beard?
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart had a beard. He was a promoter too. He wasn't a wrestler. So that's why that's kind of a weird thing. So
I don't think that's Jimmy Hart. Yeah, because Jimmy Hart had a goatee.
Yeah. Yeah, see the Cat and Kit of the Super Friends. It's true. But the Wonder Twins came out before Cat and Kit did. So they came out in the 70s, and Cat and Kit came out in the 80s.
I don't know why it just clicked now, but you were so scared of the chat to make you. You would have spent like a minute saying, "I'm not saying I like Flash."
That's because I knew they were going to jump on it, and I'm like, settle your ass before I say anything. Because really, I'm really not promoting. I don't like that movie. I'm not going to go see The Flash. I hate it, and I will not. I will not. So,
so
anyway.
Hey, here's a question.
Yeah.
Why is The Flash not one of the main 5? How did Aquaman and Green Lantern?
I don't know why they left The Flash out. I really don't know. It's weird. They had a bunch of different characters that you never saw. I don't know. DC has so many characters, and they brought out the Wonder Twins, which were totally made for cartoons. So it didn't make sense that they did that. So do not fear us. We're only here to help you. Oh, I don't fear. I just didn't want you guys to get all riled up and do a whole different thing on Flash whenever that's not what this show's about tonight. So, so Super Friends. What else we got? I'm gonna have to go through my.
Well, you talked about the Pound Puppies, which because there's shows that you said that my sister really liked, and so,
I mean
that was even I was like, oh man, because she loves
I'll
the
share
Pound
this one
Puppies
too.
And Care Bears.
Yeah, so this is Pac-Man, and Pac-Man came out in the 80s. If you guys remember this, Pac-Man had a whole cartoon thing, and Rubik, the Amazing Cube. And I think even Qbert had Qbert had a cartoon as well. So like different games had some different cartoons at this time. So it's interesting to watch this because
Admark is going off.
I mean, look at this crap. See, look, boomers seething, unable to cope with the fact that their 80s bondage cartoons like He-Man and Thundercats are less popular than Dragon Ball Z. Time me out. I don't give a fuck. So, yeah, I mean, I think Dragon Ball. I'm not cutting on Dragon Ball Z at all. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's okay, but if you guys love it, I think it's great.
Why is he calling them bondage?
But Dragon Ball Z is not a 90s cartoon. It's an 80s cartoon, just so you know. So, right?
How is that true? That can't be true.
Am I right about that? Was Dragon Ball Z in the 80s?
Dude, there's no way.
I think it started. No, it was the 90s. You're right. I messed up. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about what was the one that you said was the 90s, and I told you it was not. Yeah. Okay, I got it mixed up with that.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought
Turtles
that.
and Dragon Ball Z, you can really.
No, my point was some of those cartoons that do straddle. It's really hard to remember where they did start, but they started early, and you don't realize.
Because I was going to say Dragon Ball Z has to be 95 or later than that.
Yeah, it's later. It's later. You're right. It is a 90s. I still don't think it's like the greatest, but you guys can think whatever the fuck you want.
I mean, I wouldn't put Dragon Ball Z in the top 10 of cartoons of all time, but I do respect it. Like,
yeah, see? Hey,
I don't
Jay.
think Dragon Ball Z sucked.
I don't think it sucked.
No.
I'm just not that into it. It was after me. It was behind, it was after my time. So it really didn't hit me the way that it hit a lot here in the chat even. So that's okay. A lot of these cartoons, I mean, look, the Smurfs came out in 1981, dude.
That's fucking nuts.
I didn't realize it was 81. I thought it was like the 70s, and it was actually 81. So it's just where you remember your childhood starting, and then where the actual cartoon began is like, it just feels so weird sometimes when you go back. Because I remember the 80s being a big deal watching Saturday morning cartoons. But when I go back and look at what I watched on Saturday morning cartoons, it was actually in the 70s. So I was watching Plastic Man. That was late 70s. Hanna-Barbera, Blue Falcon and Dynamite, Captain Caveman, Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh, shit. Captain Caveman.
Yeah.
Oh, man, when you do that, yeah.
Caveman. Yeah, I mean, it was just awesome. And so there's so many good things there, but that's not the 80s. So, all right.
Yeah, all the Warner
What's this?
Brothers stuff wasn't 80s, right? Oh, you know what? We talked about the Animaniacs a lot last week too. A lot of people brought them up, and that was a good show.
Yeah, Animaniacs, totally 90s. I mean, but
Yeah, very
great show.
90s. Yeah,
Pinky
that
and the
could only happen
Brain.
then.
I used to love Pinky and the Brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many great things that came out that we grew up with between the 80s and 90s. They were the best eras, I
Oh
do
yeah,
believe.
but
Well, the
next week I'm
70s.
winning with the 90s. I've got
I,
some.
I will say the 70s were pretty damn strong, though. So if we're going to leave that out, I mean, it's okay to do 80s and 90s because that's more our eras. But the
Yeah,
70s were pretty badass, and I just named a bunch of them that were great in the 70s.
we can give the 70s. We can do a show on the 70s down the road, but next week's
Yeah.
80s versus 90s.
I mean, you guys remember who this is?
No.
So the Silverhawks.
It's funny though, you
And
could definitely see that art style then went to
yeah,
Thundercats.
yeah, it's
That
definitely
guy
a
in the
spin
red is
out from that style from the Thundercats, which we'll get
yeah.
into. Hang on, I'm trying to get. I have another one here to show while we're on this. Man, I have a lot of picks, and I didn't realize.
It's fun. I've never watched a He-Man episode. I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My cousin
I
had
mean,
He-Man action figures, but I never watched the
yeah.
show.
I mean, Voltron. If you want to call it anime, I think it really was back in the day.
I don't understand why, when you have Transformers, why you would ever be into Voltron. Like, to me, this is poor man's Transformers. I don't know if
They're
that's
different. No, they're a different thing. So, like, if you ever watched Gatchaman or G-Force,
well, isn't Voltron basically Transformers and Power Rangers mixed?
no, it was different because Transformers were their own things. Like Gatchaman, and there was a few other ones. Even Silverhawks is a little bit based on this kind of deal where it's like a team, and they all have their
humans
own
that control
roles.
stuff, right? Yeah.
Well, there's usually like one girl in the team. There's like a fat kid, a skinny little kid, and like two main guys competing for the affections of the girl, and that's the way Gatchaman or G-Force was, and Voltron's pretty much set up with the same thing. They just have different, a different mech, different armor, stuff like that.
Dude,
so,
Mo Pigs goes moving on.
yeah,
he's not liking your.
But you know what, dude? This is what kicked off for me, man. I think Voltron was one of the first cartoons that I caught after school, and it blew me away. I was in elementary school, and I came home and I watched this, and I was like, "Oh my god, what am I watching?" And I loved it, and it made me fall in love with, all those cartoons that came out at that point. So, when I think of the big ones that came out in the 80s, this is definitely one of the biggest ones that came out for me.
Say the Voltron art is nice. Like, it looks good.
Oh, it's cool as hell, man. I used to have the actual lions that were like this big, and they would form a big Voltron, and I had all 5 that formed, and you could actually put the action figures in them, which was cool. So it was a big ass toy, man.
The chat wants some Pound Puppy pics.
Well, I don't think I got Pound Puppies up here because I have so many other cartoons I was going to show.
We had a Pound Puppy blanket. You want to know something really funny? When me and my friends were like 12, in the neighborhood, there were these girls. There were like a bunch of sisters, and they were really pretty, and we all called them the Pound Puppies. I don't know why we called them the Pound
that's
Puppies,
hilarious.
but that was the nickname for them.
So, oh shit. Yeah, I think this is the original Pound Puppy image. So I'll have to bring it up and zoom in for you guys. Let me share this. So, there was a lot of girly like cartoons out at that time. That
the Gummy Bears, but I'd say the Gummy Bears was male and female. Like the Care Bears, I didn't watch, but I watched Gummy Bears.
Safe search on.
I don't know what this is. What the heck is that?
So this is Pound Puppies. This is what came out in the 80s.
Wait, I thought they were regular dogs. I don't remember them wearing outfits.
It is like the original group. And
Safe search. Oh my
I never
god.
watched this because this was starting to get into the later 80s for me. So I was still
My
into
sister watched it.
watching Thundercats and Mask and G.I. Joe and all that shit. I didn't care about Pound Puppies. But, you know, there was, I mean, if you guys want to go through the girly ones, let's just talk about Care Bears, Rainbow Bright, which, EVS has made Rainbow the Brute
That
out
is
of,
funny. I like that
which is
idea
a
that he
parody
has.
of. Yeah,
That's a cool idea.
it is a cool idea. So the gummy bears, I mean, the gummy bears was a big deal. It's one of those ones that goes between the 80s and 90s and was a very popular cartoon.
Mo Biggs
So,
wants you to sing the Gummy Bear song.
uh, okay, gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. There you go. That's all I got for you, Mo.
It was a good
Hope you
song.
loved it. Anyway, it was a good theme song. Um,
And
whatever.
clearly they had the gummy juice, which was referencing crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Um,
See, had an awesome theme song. There you go. So, look, My Little Pony. That's when that came out. Care
so here's
Bears,
the
Gummy
thing.
Bears.
There's a bunch of girl shows I know because me and my sister
Yeah.
would fight over the TV and we would
Yep.
make deals. Like I'd be like, okay, I gotta see the turtles. So you can watch New Kids on the Block as long as I get the turtles. You know what I mean? Like or Ghostbusters or
Yeah.
we would
So
argue over what show.
robotics, Bigfoot, and Jim. Now I remember Jim. I don't necessarily remember robotics.
There was a Bigfoot show.
I think so. So let me look that up. I mean, I'm all for looking some of this stuff up because I'm like, let me look at.
Yeah, Strawberry Shortcake. Yeah, I remember my sister really liked her.
I can't spell shit. But Bigfoot cartoon. So
I do not remember a Bigfoot cartoon.
Well,
Safe search still on. Isn't that terrible? That like pretty much cartoons, like man.
Yeah, no doubt.
One letter search.
Well, it was the Bigfoot truck, so I do remember this now that it's coming up. So
what?
Let me see. Hang on, let me jump to it. So shit. It's really small, but I'm gonna try to.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's the Bigfoot, based on the Bigfoot truck.
Oh, I was thinking Bigfoot the animal.
No,
I don't remember this though either.
I wondered it whenever he said it though, because there was a lot of stuff back in the 80s. Bigfoot was a big deal back then. So
what do you think the show was about though? What do you even do with it?
They just make up premises, dude. It don't matter. I mean, they can make a cartoon out of anything. Jim was truly outrageous, but the Misfits songs were better. All right. Yeah. So it's right up her alley. I mean, that's what she says. Bigfoot, King of the Monster Trucks, the trucks. Okay, it must be. Is that like the theme song?
Sunday,
look at that.
Sunday.
Strawberry Shortcake. See, and then, so the Popples. Do you guys remember the Popples?
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell that is.
Let me see if I can find that as well because
Bigfoot engraved.
I know my wife talked about the Popples, and okay, this, I mean, it's super girly, which it's just one of those things that I did not grow up watching, but it was a big deal to my wife.
What the heck is this?
Yeah, and they made them like. They were like pillows whenever you had them. They were like toy
pillows. I
don't
remember this at all.
So in the 80s, that's kind of what they were. That was a big deal. See, Amanda, of course, I had a poppable stuffy. They were all the rage, and that's it. That's where my
but it was my wife cartoon though too. It wasn't just
yeah, man. So back then, you remember the 80s started off that. That's why Transformers got so big, was because
the toys.
Once they started, they built the toys, and it was all about the cartoons and the toys. So, Way Up in the Trees lived the Mon-Chi-Chis. I was already ahead of you on that one. So, I did have that one. I did have it. Maybe I don't have it anymore.
Mon-Chi-Chis?
Yeah, Mon-Chi-Chis. And they're the Mon-Chi-Chi. You remember that?
No.
That's the That's their theme song.
Which this is weird because my sister didn't watch it. My sister was 3 years older than me. She was born
Yeah,
80. So my
let me
sister's born right
stop.
in 1980. So right 1980 was the year.
Yeah, so they're like these little monkey dudes,
Nope, never seen this.
and very strange, but yeah, pillow. She's like, oh, I missed the Monchichis. See? Yeah, Rick, the pound puppies, we covered those. So, yep. Thanks for coming in here, Rick. Uh, yeah, I don't know Kissy Fur. But, so we had the Snorks. You guys remember the Snorks at all? The
Yeah, you
Snorks
need
were
to show
actually
me
a pretty
that.
big.
I need to see the Snorks.
Snorks were pretty big. Let me grab this one. This is a pretty good image. So
Why are you finding all these small? Oh,
it's
dude.
just the way they go, dude. I can't. I'm just grabbing them fast. So
Well, no, at
Snorks,
least
Snorks were popular back then, man. They were like the
Dude.
underwater Smurfs. That's really what it
I
was.
do remember them
Yeah.
now after seeing this.
Right. Am I frozen? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't
But
think
I'm
you're moving. Yeah, your
very
camera's
strange.
stuck. And now he either got kicked out or he's trying something to move his
Here we
camera.
go again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Just your camera sucks, but it's okay. You're showing pictures anyways.
All right.
No one
yeah, I
needs
just
to
don't
see your-
understand. So
No one needs to
something's
see
been
your
going
fugly
on.
face.
Right. So DuckTales were actually in 1987. So that was
come on.
a big deal.
That's got to be 90s DuckTales.
Nah, dude, they were 87. So
DuckTales,
you can't claim those. So really, when you look at just the amount, even of just all the girl stuff, and Care Bears and the Gummy Bears and the Smurf, and you had Jim and you had She-Ra.
I would have.
Damn,
if I had to
that was
put
a
money
lot.
on it, I would have put the Gummy Bears and DuckTales in the 90s. I would not have thought they were 80s either of those.
Actually, I would have too until I looked it up and I thought, nope. I remembered it once it said. I was like, yep, I remember them being on the tail end of my like cartoon era.
So it really
you know what I mean?
Because Darkwing Duck had to be 90s, right?
Hey, Astro Zombie, thanks for coming in. Darkwing Duck was kind of 90s. I think he came in after the DuckTales, right?
Yeah. But he did have, because Launchpad was in both, right? He was the airplane.
I think so. Yeah, and Rescue Rangers went from 89 to 90, so yeah. So yeah, Darkwing Duck,
Rescue
90s.
Rangers was 89?
Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy to think about.
I would have thought that was like 93, 94. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to think about when these came out because it's like I said, your brain, it's because you start putting things, you associate eras,
Yeah.
and the way you associate your life. And then you realize that it's not quite right. Your brain plays tricks on you.
Like crazy now was just there was like a Disney afternoon thing with like Goof Troop, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, now Chip and Dale, I don't remember when Chip and Dale came out, but yeah, I think Tailspin, I don't remember that either, Crazy Mad. I don't remember when they all came out. They were pretty good cartoons though.
Yeah.
And I remember them being very good, even though I didn't watch much of them.
Yeah, Tailspin was really good. I remember really liking Tailspin.
Yeah, they had good characters.
Well, Tailspin was just the Jungle Book, but they were now living
like stuck in the jungle.
Because even the tiger was in it. The bad tiger,
right,
from Jungle Book was like the boss of Baloo. Whatever Baloo did with an airplane.
Right.
And then Kick Cloud Kicker or something, he was made for the show.
Dookie lost all interest in the Rescue Rangers when he found out it had nothing to do with Chip and Dale's. Oh, shoot. So wrong. Okay, so anyway, let's stop this girly nonsense, Amanda. We just can't do it no more.
Why are you yelling at Amanda?
We gotta move on. I'm just saying she wanted all that girly stuff. Now, I didn't show
fun.
She-Ra. I'm not going to show She-Ra, but it was after the fact of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe anyway. But
She-Ra
so
didn't do well though, right? Like, didn't she only have a season?
it did okay. The toys did pretty good, and the
Oh,
girls, a
really?
lot of girls liked She-Ra, man. They kind of messed it up. Um, I think they could have done much more with it, and they kind of jacked it over. Um, they tried to reimagine it because it lost some sales, and then it just kind of went to hell and back. But like most of those things,
Yeah.
let me see. So of course we got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and this was probably one of my favorite. And it's not that I didn't like Prince Adam at all.
Honestly,
Just like
I felt like even back then He-Man was a little gay. Like his outfit and everything. I'm not kidding you.
I
Like,
know that's what a lot of people think. I
and then
understand
how
that.
he would dress, right? He felt feminine even though he was so muscular.
Only see Prince Adam felt feminine.
Yeah,
He-Man felt
yeah.
like Conan to me. So when he was actually He-Man, I felt like, okay, he's cool, he's very barbaric, but why is he so barbaric? And then he goes to this gay Prince Adam shit. I didn't understand the jump when I was younger, and it didn't make sense. I wish he was just always He-Man and we never had that whole Prince Adam bullshit.
Well,
But
how long did they do that with even Thor in Marvel Comics with what's his name, right?
yeah,
With Thor, it wasn't really
Blake.
Thor. He was turning into Thor, right? What was the
Yeah, what
guy's
was his name? Yeah. So, oh, hey, 80's. Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, 80's
Yeah, I
me.
mean,
This is definitely your stream. 80's.
yeah. But this thing is the thing they had with him switching is just terrible. And then Orko was terrible. So I hate Orko.
Do you think that all comes from Superman with Clark Kent turning into Superman?
I mean, that's probably part of it. And then they tried to make it more fantasy, so they put more magic to it. And it makes sense to me why you would come up with a premise of it. But if you're going to do it, it needs to have the same spirit. It's like what we were talking about with Shazam. Like, the kid feels different than the actor playing Shazam.
Oh, in the movie,
like,
yeah, the kid.
Yeah, in the movie. Yeah, so if you don't get it right, it's really a jacked up
The adult
mess.
feels more like a kid than the kid does when the kid's on screen.
Yeah.
Like the kid doesn't seem fun at all. He seems miserable.
Yeah. So I hate that kind of stuff. But I do like the idea and the whole premise of Shazam and He-Man and even Thor. Hold on. I'm making a point.
Yeah, but he went after Snarf.
The whole premise of changing between, becoming from a kid to a hero. What kid don't think of that? You know what I mean? Like that's in their imagination. So of course it's going to become something in a cartoon or a story. But they didn't do a good job of it. And let's see. Orko wasn't a great character, but he wasn't as bad as Snarf or Jar Jar or Scrappy Doo. I agree.
Whoa.
You're exactly right.
No.
Snarf.
Scrappy
I hated
Doo
Snarf.
And Snarf are not even close to Jar Jar. Like that's messed up.
Snarf is trash.
On a whole different level.
I agree. Snarf is trash. Get rid of him. Get rid of Orko. Yep.
Snarf
I hate
is
both
not
of them.
Trash.
Yes, he is. He
and
ruined
Scrappy Doo is not
Thundercats.
Trash.
Scrappy Doo sucked.
Scrappy Doo was cool.
He was stupid.
He could
There
fight.
was not a reason for him at all.
There was clearly a reason for Scrappy Doo.
No, you're wrong.
Because he was hugely popular.
I'm not even reading it, Mo. I'm not reading it. I just agreed with you, and you said that shit about me, so I'm not reading it. Murph identified with Snarf, clearly touched a nerve. Yeah, look at this. Orko, Scrappy Doo, Jar Jar Snarf is greater than. Yeah.
Oh, man. Come on. Why are people hating on Snarf?
Scrappy Doo's worse than Snarf. I agree.
What did you guys
totally
think of
agree.
Slimer?
I never loved Slimer that much. I never liked the Ghostbusters cartoon that much. I mean, that just
dude, Dark Jar Jar is, and we got to do an episode on that. I gotta find that video because Dark Jar Jar is awesome.
We can do a video on it. I'm cool to talk about it. So anyway, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Back to the cartoon. For me,
Snarf is a gay
He-Man had some of the best
Yeah.
character designs of all time. And because of that, I will always love it. Even the dumbest cartoons, like had some cool designs, but even the greatest cartoons had the most stupid designs. So He-Man had some stupid designs as well. But
What
some of the most that
stupid
stuck on
designs
my
did
brain.
the turtles have?
Well, some of the animals they had doing the mutants, the mutant animals were not always the best.
Which one looks stupid? They're all awesome.
To you, they're
were
awesome,
too.
but okay. But you like Snarf, so I can't really trust your opinion anymore.
I don't understand. Snarf was cool.
See, any Scrappy Doo episode meant it was time to turn the channel. Exactly. I got up and went outside at that point and played. So in the 80s, that's when I got up out of Saturday morning cartoons and played. Murph shocked us all by not liking Last of Us episode 3. It's true. Kick Murph and Dirk.
I just
Darth Jar Jar is the true Star Wars canon.
They both knew they were gay, like without any, you know what I mean? And then they're like the guy, they've been in like a 5-minute conversation, and then they're in bed, and the guy's like, "I don't want you to think I'm a whore." What do you mean you don't want him to think you're a whore? You just met this guy, and you guys are banging it out, like.
So who was the? It wasn't the turtles I'm talking about. I like the turtles designs. That's not who I'm talking about. You shut your whore mouth. Wow, 80s, that's getting strong. But
no,
I would say
right. Turtles is perfect.
Some of the animals, like the other animals, like some of the other bad guys that they had, other than the two, didn't they have some more guys that were like mutated?
Well, Bebop and Rocksteady were mutated rhino and pig.
It might have been rhino and pig. I didn't like that
Stockman as a Fly was really cool looking. They had a bat. They had a lizard. They had an alligator. Yeah. They had a lot of different.
Look at this. Aardvark's really on the boomers today. He was cutting on boomers in Twitter, and now he's cutting on boomers now.
Are you
boomers
boomer?
Anime is gay. Also, boomers. He-Man is awesome. Okay, Zach did suck. I'll give you that.
Awesome. That's a great quote. Enemy is gay.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I don't know what stream Aardvark's even watching. I know, that's where I'm at with Aardvark. He's just sitting there stewing in his rage, putting words in everyone's mouths to defend his shameful love of Dragon Ball Z. I love it.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit. I have a love for some of these cartoons, but I know some of them were not great.
I know Ghostbusters wasn't good.
No.
But I loved it.
So did you guys see this one?
Why don't you talk about the Ghostbusters? They were clearly 80s.
Why do you I don't like the Ghostbusters cartoon. I thought it sucked.
The real Ghostbusters?
Yeah, I thought it was stupid. They didn't look like the cartoon or the movie to me, and I was just like, why are we getting this shit? And then when they brought out the other Ghostbusters cartoon, it was confusing as hell, and I just thought it was a mess. I hated both of them.
I never watched the new... I do remember a new one coming out, but I never watched it.
Yeah. So B-Rose is at least smart enough to not say anything. See? Thanks, B-Rose. He-Man was bad, but in a funny way. Yeah. Mask was the best. And I agree, Astro Zombie. I loved Mask. So all these guys had a mask that went along with their
Wait a minute.
vehicle
You're telling
of
me
choice.
A show named Mask? They were all wearing masks, Derek? That's crazy talk.
That's not what I said. I said they each had their own unique mask. So they each had. So if you look at them, they don't just have a mask because anybody could just have a helmet on, man. They got shit that does stuff. Like they can fly, or they would have things that would do different things, and they were great. You just wish you had a cartoon in the 90s this cool, because you didn't.
Dude, you haven't said anything. No one's ever said anything to make me think Mask is cool. I don't.
So you still think this is a dumb premise?
Yes.
Wow. Yes. You're wrong. Once again, this was when the toys preceded the cartoon. And so they had this big mountain, and the mountain would actually transform, and you could get inside to where their bunker was, under the mountain. And then their weapons and their vehicles would change. So the guy in the yellow there on the left rode a motorcycle. It was called Condor, and it would morph into a helicopter. So it went from a motorcycle to a helicopter.
So was this after Transformers? Because it sounds like they're ripping Transformers
It's
off.
probably just after, but it wasn't that it was like they would transform in a different way. Like, you would get a tank, and then it would have the weapons would, come out of it. And it was just this big mobile, like crazy thing, with big weapons coming out. It's great. And not many toys back then, would morph. And then you had that, and it was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So when the Turtles came out with some of their weapons and their vehicles later on, a lot of it was because of this early shit that did it before they did.
Dude, Mo Biggs brought up the Police Academy cartoon. I totally forgot about that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it was Mobile Armored Strike Command. It's criminal that it only had 2 seasons. I agree. It was a great cartoon, great show. I wish it was around.
Why don't they make it as a movie? They still have the license.
They should, and it would be pretty fun. You know what I mean? They'd probably fuck it up somehow, though. So it's just what it is. So I'm surprised Dookie hasn't brought up the Police Academy cartoon or the Rambo cartoon or any of the others. Why are these cartoons?
I don't remember Rambo
I know.
cartoon. That'd be pretty cool, though. I'd watch a Rambo cartoon.
I remember it. I remember it now. I didn't remember it then.
Like, what does he do? Walking to different towns, fighting cops? Like, what is he doing?
It's just the same old shit. He's just fighting bad guys. Look, you didn't have to have much of a premise. Murph, you never had to have much of a premise. You just had to have a good guy fighting a bad guy, and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
That's the way it was. And how great was that era to just have that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they made a cartoon of the Cher movie Mask, they should have called it Rocky after the main character, Rocky Dennis, to trick kids into tuning in. Oh my God. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Did you ever see that? Yeah. The kid Rocky in it, he had like elephantitis.
Oh no.
So his face was like really distorted and big.
Oh, it's the Elephant Man, right?
Well, it's different than that. But he had a really bad problem. His face was real big. Like, he was a real person. It was a real thing. So if you look it up, you'll see the real deal.
So wait, what's the difference between Cher's movie and the Elephant Man movie?
Elephant Man was based on like way back, what was it, the 20s or something like that, whenever Elephant Man was out.
Well, was he in the circus and Cher's just...
Yeah, it was like vaudeville times. And then Cher was more in the 80s, and it's telling a story about a true life story.
Wasn't the actor that played her son, wasn't he the guy that was supposed to be the actor in Back to the Future? That guy?
Yeah, yes.
I can't think of his name, but he was a big actor like in the 80s.
He was in Some Kind of Wonderful, that main character guy.
Yeah, that guy.
So, Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. I do remember that. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
What's that? What's Chuck Norris?
He was traveling with the gymnastics group. They just had different stuff. Like Chuck Norris had Karate Commandos. So I mean, it was just all these cartoons, dude.
Damn. So, you said you're in blackface.
Oh, I know. Why am I in blackface? Well, for some reason my camera kicked out, Dean. So didn't have cable, never saw Mask, but had Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Police Academy. So there you go.
Oh, I remember the Killer Tomatoes. Holy crap.
Heck yeah. So, okay. We already saw that one. We saw this one. We saw this one. All right. Now we're getting down to my top 3 favorite cartoons of the 80s. Yeah, Eric Stoltz. Thank you. Eric Stoltz was in Some Kind of Wonderful. He was going to originally be in Back to the Future.
Yeah, they filmed like half the movie with him in it, and he wasn't. It wasn't working, right? Like
wasn't. Yep. So they redid it. And I almost said Toxic Crusaders. Yeah, Toxic Avenger was the 80s.
Oh my God, my cousin loved that show. He had all the.
They even did a cartoon with that later on.
Yeah, he had all the action figures. One guy had like a wheel for a leg, and really weird.
So I think actually Back to the Future, Bill and Ted, and New Kids on the Block. I thought they were were they the 80s or the 90s? They could have been the 80s.
Dean's right, Derek. Why don't you change it to like mine, where it has a picture instead of just being all black?
Well, an ad, and so yeah.
There you go.
But for some reason, it was just cutting me out. I was trying to get it to work again. That's why.
Teen Wolf, the cartoon. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Teen Wolf. And, there were so many things. It was like if they thought that a kid might jump on the cartoon, they were ready to do it back then. I love that era because we got so many unique things. And now they won't take a risk on anything.
Well, I can't even tell you what is a cartoon now, right? Like, what is?
Do they even have cartoons anymore? Because everything's animated 3D, with digital, and it looks like shit. And I don't even think they do normal cartoons. And then the other stuff that is cartooned and made into a cartoon, it looks like some 2-year-old drew it.
Well, I mean, SpongeBob and Rick and Morty are cartoons, so.
Yep, we mentioned the Rubik's Cube. It was with Pac-Man. Pac-Man and the Rubik's Cube Hour or something like that. It was like, yeah. Rubik the Amazing Cube is what it was. Alvin and the Chipmunks. See, there was a lot of good shit, man, in the 80s.
Oh, I did like that. I did like the Alvin and the Chipmunks cartoon.
Yeah.
So, that had a good song too, right? Doot, 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 doot. Alvin, yeah. Simon, Theodore.
So I will say this is my third. I don't think
that was 80s though, right? Wasn't Alvin and Chipmunks 90s?
No, it was 80s.
Shit.
So this is probably my third
was the Muppet
favorite.
Babies?
That was the 80s. Muppet Babies were the 80s.
Thundercats, man, they should really make a movie off of Thundercats.
You know what?
It'd be awesome.
I want to say, wait, Thunder the Barbarian I thought was the 70s. Let me see when it came out though, because
there was a Kid and Play cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, it was 80. God. So it was 1980. So you're right. Thundar the Barbarian was out. That was one of my favorites growing up too, and I just thought it was the 70s, so I left it in that era. But you are correct, sir. 80, 81. Nice. So for me, Thundercats was top 3 for me. One of my top 3 favorite
cartoons. They were my first action figures, and their action figures were good. They were big. I mean, look, they weren't like G.I. Joes.
Gosh, look at the logo design, the character designs.
You're right.
Everything about these characters. What?
Total Metal. Make a movie with a metal soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this was like perfection when it came to character design and logo design and just premise of a cartoon. Other than Snarf, everything was pretty much perfect.
I don't understand. Seriously, why are people hating on Snarf?
Yeah, I hate Snarf. Nobody likes Snarf, man. He was stupid.
What's wrong with him? What did he do?
I mean, he was annoying. And why did we have it? That everybody else was super cool, and we had this stupid, annoying cat-like creature being dumb, going Snarf, Snarf, and you just wanted to kill him. You wanted to see, what's his name, kill him every time, Mumra.
He was there. There are a bunch of cats that had their own cat.
No,
that's basically what he was.
That's kind of dumb.
He's their cat.
I'm sad that kids today will never have bowls of cereal in their whitey tighties on Saturday morning in front of the TV.
Wait, he put bowls of cereal in his whitey tighties? That's a little
tidy
weird.
Whiteys. It should have been tidy whiteys, but delete the comment. Crazy man.
In his tidy whiteys,
that's awesome. If I ever streamed, I'd probably use clips from Kid and Play cartoon. That's terrible, Mo. I can't believe you'd even put that on your show.
Derek, why is he putting cereal in his underwear? I don't understand.
He's having the bowl of cereal while wearing tidy whities.
That's not what you said.
That's what he means. I know what he meant.
You said,
and that's what
having a bowl of cereal in their tidy whities.
Yeah. thinks furries are perfection. Yeah, no. And Dean said Thundercats are responsible for furries. Probably true.
Yeah.
Thundercats is pretty good. F Snarf. Exactly. That's why I feel. F Snarf. Either you hate Snarf or you are Snarf. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Mo. He's so correct. Now, top 2 for me is, and this may be different for everybody else, but top 2 for me is Transformers. How can you go wrong? Murph was really carrying the water for Snarf.
I know, that's pretty funny. Did everyone hate freaking Slimer as well? I feel like they're the same.
Slimer was different. No, he's not. He's different.
How are they not the same character?
Snarf was the only thing that could have realistically made The Last of Us episode 3 worse. See? So, because the lack of children and their tidy whities in your life does not make you sad, crazy mad. Tindercats is Dean's new furry dating site. Oh shit, this is good. Jay's paying for Tindercats gold. Smoker get a pass. Yeah. Listen. So, Transformers once again, one of the best cartoons of all time in the 80s, I would say. It's probably one of the most popular in the 80s and great premise and still going strong today.
Is Optimus Prime's voice the most iconic cartoon voice there is?
Gosh, he's got to be in my top 3 favorite voices of all time for cartoons.
His voice is great.
Yeah, he is so good. And, how can you not love him? So when I hear that voice, I was so happy when they got him for the movies, even though the movies weren't great. So
no, but it did his voice. It just has that leader.
Yeah, Peter Cullen is his
leader
name.
Type of voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Peter Cullen is his name.
Peter Cullen. Yeah, his voice is amazing.
Yeah, if they wouldn't have got him, it would have been a totally different movie for me, and I probably wouldn't give a shit.
When he dies, I don't know what they're gonna do because, has there ever been? Did he do Optimus Prime in Beast Wars?
I don't know if he did that. I don't think so. I think they changed at that point, but he had come back. He had come back to do Prime so many times. You know what I mean? Because if you're doing the original Prime, you can't have him be without that voice. I mean, it's really hard.
Voice is great.
It's just so iconic. I mean, literally, when I saw him on screen, it brought tears to my eyes a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it was really Optimus was there. It was so good. Now, the movie wasn't great, but just seeing him transform and just doing the whole, roll out, that kind of deal. It's just so good.
His voice is great.
Yeah, it's just awesome to hear. So, Kid Video. I don't remember that. So, I'm not sure. Astro Zombie remembers it.
I like how they're getting mad that you haven't said anything about G.I. Joe yet. They're like,
oh, well, you know what?
Keeping G.I. Joe.
That's because that's my number 1 favorite of all time. So I'm not really gatekeeping it. I was just saving it for last because it is my favorite of all time from the 80s. And that's because I love the characters of G.I. Joe and I love the design of the characters as an artist. This, He-Man, Thundercats, and Transformers were probably some of my most influential and what helped me want to be in comics and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're more influential.
G.I. Joe in the comics?
It came out later, so I didn't read a lot. I had a few of the issues, but I didn't love it that much.
Because I think Marvel had them for a time, right?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant the new ones. The older ones, yes, I did have.
The new ones are supposed to be good though. They're by the people who do the Turtles and G.I. Joes.
Yeah. They were okay, but the Mike Zeck covers in the old ones, oh my gosh, they're just so fantastic to me. And So Mike Zeck did, the one with Snake Eyes versus, Storm Shadow, and then he did a lot of the classic covers for GI Joe back in the '80s that are just iconic.
Boy, they
And
really fucked up those movies, though, right? Like,
oh my gosh, terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. Oh damn, here's Aardvark. Boomers, anime's gay. Also boomers. This bondage cartoon about cat boys is awesome. What's this bondage shit he's talking about?
dude, I don't know.
Like...
clearly, Aardvark is against making fun of anime. Like,
I mean, well, he's just against 80s. He's against anybody that's a boomer. I'm not a boomer though. I'm Gen
None
X.
of us are boomer.
So,
Boomers were born during World War II.
Yeah, they're before the Gen X. I'm a Gen Xer.
None of them were watching 80s cartoons. They were
Gen Xers are the coolest generation. So what are you talking about? Snake Eyes was the man. I wish they did a movie about it, but they never did. I know. I love Snake Eyes. One of my all-time faves. And
wait, they did do a movie on him.
Yeah, it was shit. They never did a great movie.
It sound like they never did one.
Well, yeah, but they never did a good one, and they never should have because it was.
You watched it? It looked like it had good action.
I didn't. I only watched a part of it because I was going back to my 80s childhood and going, please, please, and then I was like, oh shit.
Now was Snake Eyes always white, or did they do that for the movie? Because I thought that was weird when they showed him as a kid and he was white. I always thought he was like Asian.
It was stupid. They messed it all up.
Is he? Do you know his nationality or no?
I forget. I see they kind of delved into that later on, and I missed some of it, so I don't know. Yeah, no. So for me, the original GI Joe crew, and then you know what? Who I liked better than these guys though were the villains. I think GI Joe had some of the best villain designs.
I mean, Storm Shadow is a badass name.
He is. I mean, Destro, dude. The metal. I mean, he's got this metal head. He's just.
I never understood that.
Total badass looking.
Because the movies made it even weirder.
I don't even know. Because all I know is he looked awesome, and I thought, oh my gosh, this dude is. He should be the leader, but he's letting the other guy, Cobra Commander, be the leader, and I'm like, he could take over Cobra Commander so easy.
Dude, you remember like how kids would make shit up in school? I remember people would talk about the G.I. Joe Cobra Commander's mask that if you could take it off, you could see what his face looked like.
Yeah,
and like there'd be
that was bullshit.
Like, yeah, I did it perfect. And that wasn't true.
No, it wasn't true. It was all like the talk about it. But
yeah,
I always wanted to be able to take his mask off. And I love Cobra Commander. I even loved what was the guy who looked like a cobra?
Cobra Commander, right?
No. He was almost like a god that they resurrected later on in the movie.
Oh, I have no idea.
I can't think of his name. Anyway,
didn't Cobra Commander have two different looks? Like, didn't he have like a sheet, and then didn't he have like a metal circle thing too?
Yeah, he had. Yes. He had a metal helmet, and then he had a cloth mask.
Yeah.
So,
and he talked like a snake, didn't he?
Well, he just had that real voice like this. He's always kind of raspy and weird. I mean, yeah. Let's just look at this one. Damn. I'll have to zoom in. But, I mean, look at that. Those are great designs. Look how cool Cobra Commander looks there.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Oh, my gosh, you guys. Yeah, once a man. No, but the villains of Cobra Commander, I mean, one of my favorites is Zartan. And I think the reason why Zartan became one of my favorites of all time was because the actual toy would morph. It would turn blue, not morph, but turn blue in the sun. So he would get so he could go into the shadows, and and
Is
kind
that
of
what he did?
hide. Yeah, because he was always in like the swamps and stuff, and he would hide, and and it just brought this aura about about the character and the toy, and it made me think. You made me use my imagination so much when I was little, and I was like, "Oh man, this is like one of the coolest toys ever." And he came with like a mask that you put over his face, and it changed his face, made him a different character because he was a master of disguise. And so, making his skin turn blue and making his mask come on, it was like, this is the coolest thing in the world.
See,
You know what I mean?
to me as a kid, even though I didn't watch GI Joe, I always
Yeah,
thought the
it's so
GI Joe
pintor.
and Star Wars toys were so small that I didn't like how small they were.
No, I love 3.5 inch. So 3.5 inch, uh, and you know what? Back in the 80's, they were the most. What do you call that? Where they're the most bendable. They had the most
Dexterity,
articulations out
articulation.
of any toy that had come before it. And even since, a lot of toys have built off of that. But until that time, no toy had been
Oh
at,
yeah, because I remember
they
even
bent at the
having wrestling figures
forearm.
that couldn't move. They were
Yeah.
just stiff in
So
one pose.
they had their forearms. Their forearms would turn, their wrists would turn and bend, and their elbows, and then you had the shoulders,
Well, and
their
weapons
head.
weapons were a big thing for them, right? Too, right? Didn't they come with tons of
Yeah,
weapons?
and the vehicles. So to be able to fit them into the things, you had to be able
Yeah,
to manipulate them enough to fit them into the vehicle. So
that's
there
one
were
thing the
some of the
turtles
coolest
did good
toys.
too. The turtles had tons of vehicles
Yeah.
and things like that that you could.
No, I love 3.5 inch. The Dukester's clearly targeting Bancroft's post rod rejects.
Oh my gosh!
That's good because you need at least 3 inches to penetrate. Oh my god! So that's rubber band waist movement. Yeah, man, rubber band waist movement. So yeah, their rib cages would move and everything, and so uh, the articulation of those characters were fantastic. And before that, most characters only came with kung fu grip. That's what the original GI Joes came with, was kung fu grip, and that
Yeah,
was
that's
it.
funny.
I mean, their arms moved a little bit, but they were real, like, they were very,
Gosh,
I don't know,
this is making me like now we have
terrible.
to do like an action figure. Like who had the best
Oh, we
action?
will. I mean, we're going to, because in my view, that's, I mean, your imagination comes out like through that kind of stuff. So, um, I had a lot of the toys that went with some of these cartoons, growing up. So, but that's the point. A lot of
Yeah,
this
I'm
influenced
pretty
my
sure
comic
that
book stuff.
Thundercats were my first action figures.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, my first action figures, I can't remember. Star Wars was one of them. I had all the Star Wars toys, and
Because I had Ghostbusters and Turtles and
yeah.
WWF wrestlers.
Um, once He Man came out though, and GI Joe, the 3.5 inch, it was over, dude. Like I had those things. I had Castle Grayskull. I had
Did you not collect
all
Star
that
Wars
shit.
action figures?
Yeah, I just said I did.
Oh, I heard GI Joe. I didn't hear you say Star Wars.
No, I had Star Wars, and then GI Joe and He Man came out, and I had all of it, every bit of it. Just now, the only thing with GI Joe is that they expanded so much. It was really hard to buy all their characters. They had a ton of toys, and there
Did
was a
you have
lot that I
Sergeant
never
Slaughter?
got.
I remember Sergeant Slaughter started then being on like the after show.
I think I did have Sergeant Slaughter. I didn't have. I even had the refrigerator Perry. You remember him?
Yeah,
Yeah, I had him. He
he
was
was
a
a
GI
GI
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah,
What did they have him
and
do?
well, I mean, he ran through people. He was a linebacker, right? So,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I mean, there were so many great things. Now, I didn't have the big carrier, the big jet carrier ship, because that
that's
thing is
cool.
friggin' huge. I had a friend that had it though, and I was so envious of that kid, man. It was ridiculous.
Well, I remember having the Turtles lair, but I could never get the Brains Technodrome. Like It was really hard
Yeah.
to find, and I
Yeah.
never got that. And I remember really wanting that.
Oh yeah, man. Like the stuff that came out in the 80s, it spurned my imagination crazy. Like I think even more than the comics at that point because
Oh
I
yeah,
just couldn't
I
believe
had
what I was getting
X-Men
into.
action figures. Holy crap!
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe for one thing when He-Man and the Masters of the Universe came out, that just blew my mind. I mean,
It's funny you say that. I remember when they had Wolverine's claws could go in and out and the action
yeah,
figure, and that blew my mind. I was like, "Oh
yeah,
man, you can retract them. This is awesome."
uh-huh. Yeah, just so many great things came out, and a lot of that was the influence from the decades before. But man, when you're thinking about the era and just how many cartoons came out at once with their action figures, I just counted my favorites out of my favorites. So I have, He-Man, Voltron, Transformers, GI Joe, Mask, Thundercats, Silverhawk, Super Friends. I mean, so you have like, you know, 7 to 8
Did Super
cartoons
Friends
that were
have
just,
action figures?
yeah, they did. But I mean, whenever you think anyway, when it's Batman and Superman, they were already big as hell, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
they
but I
were,
don't remember ever seeing like DC action figures.
yeah, they had them. They weren't as popular because they weren't as articulated most of the time. So they weren't as great. Um, even He Man wasn't really articulated in the arms, but because he had movement in his shoulders and at his waist with his legs and stuff, you could do a lot with him. So
I
they
do
were
remember
better.
my cousin did have some He-Man action, and there was one that was like a lighter that you could literally like sparks from it.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's crazy that you gave that to
Hmm.
a kid. This
Oh, they
thing
had so
freaking
many great
sparks.
things. Dude, there were so many great things back then.
He was
you
basically
know?
giving a kid a lighter, though.
Yeah. Kids had, I mean, what's the difference? They were going to get matches and all kinds of shit. I mean, kids played
Man,
with all kinds of shit back then,
I
and
remember
we
we'd
were
get
allowed
lighters
to.
to throw them on the ground to pop them.
Yeah, man, all kinds of good shit. So, yeah, so there's my list. I think the 80s beats the 90s by a
We
long
will
shot.
find out next week
Um,
because I kind of lit the chat. I didn't bring as much of a
yeah, but
presentation
here's
as
the
you did.
thing. Here's what I hate about this is because everybody in the chat, except very few of us, are from the 80s. I mean,
I
they're
think
all
there's
from the
more from the
90s.
80s than you think, though.
No, very few of us are from the 80s, and most of us are in the 90s. So the chat's going to pick 90s just so they get their way.
The
You know what I
chat's
mean?
going to pick the 90s because our chat is smart.
No, they're going to pick the 90s because that's their childhood. So it really doesn't make sense.
No,
There
I
has to
got
be another way to pick it.
dude, there's some heavy hitters in the 90s I didn't even cover last week.
Um, I don't think they could ever come close to some of the ones that I just touched.
You're
I don't
telling me
think.
Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman.
Um, I don't think that the X-Men to me and Spider-Man, because they were already comics ahead of time. I don't know, man. They were big, but
Yeah, but
I don't
it's not like
I
it
don't
was
think they
just their
did what
name. They
GI
were
Joe and
good
He-Man and
cartoons, though,
Transformers
Derek.
did. Huh?
They were good cartoons, though. It wasn't just
No,
name.
yeah, but just because I say they're not as big as the other or as good as the other ones doesn't mean I'm not saying they weren't good cartoons. What I'm saying is when you take I mean Transformers alone,
Yeah, Crazy
it
Man. I remember those wrestlers.
it was a major transformation. Okay. So when you say Transformers, it was a major transformation in the industry and I mean, from comic books, toys, it launched so much in that era. You know that? Like, Transformers is bigger than the X Men cartoon. Just it alone.
Wait, what?
Transformers is a bigger cartoon than the X Men cartoon.
So you're saying like if the X-Men didn't have comics and it was you're just going off what their cartoon did?
Yeah, because if you're adding
They're
in all that, I mean, yeah, but think about it. Transformers have transcended just their cartoon. I mean, they had toys before the cartoon came out.
Yeah, but
So
can't you say that with the X-Men though? They went over because even with that cartoon, that's why the X-Men is the all-time leading selling comic. It was because that cartoon was so big.
No, they were bigger before the cartoon got big.
No, that's not true.
The comics were big before the cartoon came out.
They were always big. Yeah, the X-Men was always big, but that
Not
the
always
animated
big.
show,
They got big in the 80s. The X-Men
But
got
they-
big in the 80s in the comics, and
but they were
then the
way bigger in
cartoon
the
came.
90s.
That's because the comics were big.
Now, I would
The
say
cartoon wouldn't have
brought-
happened. Cartoon wouldn't have happened if they weren't big in the 80s.
Sure, but then that cartoon propelled the comic bigger than the
Yes.
comic was.
Yes.
Because it was a good cartoon. It's a very good
Right.
cartoon.
I'm not taking away from that. I never said anything about that. But I think the Transformers as what it was, I think it was bigger than the X-Men cartoon. For sure.
You think the Transformers cartoon in its heyday
Is
was a
bigger
bigger
than
success than the X-Men cartoon?
Oh yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
biased, though. I like the X-Men so much.
And Transformers
being
actually
biased.
changed the industry. It changed the toy industry. It changed comics. It changed everything. The X-Men cartoon didn't do that. You know, it propelled stuff, sure, but I don't think it changed. So
Yeah, but I think because of what Transformers are.
I didn't realize Mo was leaving. See you, Mo.
Oh, peace, Mo.
Yeah. But that's just the way I feel.
I don't know. I
could be way wrong. Look, I'm just taking them as a phenomenon in the whole world, and I know what Transformers have become, and I do feel like they've transcended because they've kind of got into the whole manga thing. They've gone into, the animation. They've been in animation way longer than the X-Men were. They've had so many different iterations that the X-Men have not had. Way more toys.
Like 5 cartoons.
Yeah, but how many has the Transformers had? Way more.
Well, I mean, there's Generation 1, and then there was Beast Wars.
Okay, that's all you can remember.
Huh?
There's been a bunch of different ones, man.
Plus, there ones in between those two, though?
You're not even counting the ones that actually came out in, in different countries. So, like, that they were based on and that have come out since. Not to mention they launched so many other cartoons based on just that concept. Look at GoBots. GoBots were all based on Transformers.
I don't know what GoBots is.
Yeah, GoBots came out after the fact. But I don't know. Maybe everybody else is disagreeing with me, but I'm just thinking that as a cartoon, no, the X-Men is not as big. But as a franchise, I would say the X-Men they're huge.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not taking away from the X-Men franchise. I think
I know what you're saying, because even the X-Men as a comic was bigger than Transformers as a cartoon or action figures. Like, they were a huge comic book.
I mean, they transformed industries, you know what I mean? Whereas X-Men didn't do that. They didn't transform anything. They, like, when I say transform, like, it set up this whole premise of,
well, I'll say this though, I do feel like tons of stuff became mutant, like not just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the idea of mutant. I would say X-Men changed that, where that was like a huge, things are just mutated now instead of the old falling into a toxic pit and becoming a hero.
The true thing about like the Transformers though, so they had this great toy idea, and then they had to make it into a cartoon and a story, and then it built into comics, and then it built into all these other things, and it became this great big juggernaut. You know what I mean? And I think it influenced so many kids in that era. Robotech, man, when did Robotech come out? You remember Robotech?
I don't know what Robotech is.
What? When did Robotech come out? Gosh, that's a big one, dude.
Here's the thing, though, with Transformers being so big,
85.
How does Gundam exist? Like, wouldn't Transformers just engulf it? Like, what's different with Gundam that's different than Transformers?
I mean, there's some of it's not that much different. That's what I'm trying to say. They've influenced so much that it's not that much different. It's just its own thing. You know what I mean? So Robotech came out in '85, and it is a different thing, but it's
Dude,
kind of based
I
on
have
the
never seen
Transformers.
that.
Well, you know,
I've
like
never
the big mechs, whenever the little guys get into the big mechs, like the big robots.
Is that a Transformers thing or is that
That
a
is,
Asian
it's,
thing?
I mean, it's an Asian
Godzilla.
thing, but it came out of the Transformers era, you know? Um, it came out of Gatchaman jumping into the big mechs, you know, and
Well, because
Voltron had
Voltron
an
was
influence on
after
that.
Transformers, right?
Voltron was '84, Transformers was '84, so they were really around the same time frame.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I don't remember where they originated and if they originated at the same time. Yeah, Gundam is actually the '70s.
Oh, you serious?
I'm sorry, my dog. Now, what'd you
I
say?
didn't know Gundam was the 70s.
Yeah, you even have Shogun, the Shogun Warriors. Like, let me look up these. Shogun was in the '70s or '60s. So, Shogun Warriors. Oh my gosh. Yeah, '70s. So Shogun was even out before that. And it was like I had Shogun toys. And so this was all that influence from, you know, uh, like some of the original animation or anime. I mean, so yeah. So if no Transformers, then Robotech would not have been brought to us. You know, it's totally true to US TV. I mean, and Robotech's a big deal. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the influence of cartoons like Transformers was a big deal. He-Man, I mean, He-Man was super influential in just the fact that it made fantasy cool for a lot of kids, and
Mhm.
you know, because all they had was books at that time. You know, you had Lord of the Rings and stuff, but
Hey,
kids weren't
wasn't there
reading
a
that.
Kids Dungeons and Dragons cartoon?
Yeah, that was later. That was in the '80s, which the movie is nowhere near. Which everybody's pissed off about. So, yeah, there was. Yeah, I remember finding Shogun Warriors comics at flea markets when I was young. See, Shogun Warriors, man. I had that. I had some toys from that. Let me look
No,
up
I don't. I
the.
don't remember that at all. It's funny. I like the guy in black, but he looks a little bit like Juggernaut. I don't know if that's why I like him or if it just has a cool design. So Derek either got kicked or
Well,
did
back.
the Decepticon get you?
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Actually, I hit the tab and it was the wrong area. So
Damn
anyway,
Decepticons.
let me look up. Hey, oh,
Hello?
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking up something. Help me. What was I looking up again?
Shogun Warriors?
No, I already looked up Shogun.
Robotech?
No, man. It was after that.
Shogun?
What the hell? I just
Gundam?
talked about it.
Gundam,
No. What the
Shogun,
hell's wrong with
Robotech,
you?
Transformers.
No, man, you messed me up.
Was it action figures of Shoguns?
No, I can't remember now because it was something else about the Shoguns and who was coming out before them. But
Gundam.
yeah, so
You said Gundam was the 70s.
yeah, but I had talked about you saying Voltron? No, I already showed a picture of Voltron earlier.
Was it Shogun
Um,
Warriors?
no, it's okay. What? My point was lost because I had too much jumping around I had to do. It's okay though, but I just do look at the era of the '80s and look at. So I'm going to plead my case here of why I think the '80s was bigger than the
Keep it for
'90s.
next week. No. Keep it for next week.
No, this is my closing argument,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I'll bring it up next week.
I didn't really argue
and we'll
for
go
the
into it
90s
more.
last week, but okay,
It's
I'll
okay.
keep mine for next week.
First off, what's so dumb about this is that each era is great in its own way. So there's really
Oh
no
yeah.
winning. So no matter who wins, there's no winning because I'm always going to think 80s is the best because it's my childhood.
You already
You're
sounded
always going
like
to
a
think
loser. Like you're already putting in the white flag because I'm coming for you. I'm
no, but
coming
you
for
think the
90s.
90s is the best because that's your childhood.
No,
And
because it's a fact. That's why.
yeah, because it's your childhood. So
No, because the 80s is a
the
big part
truth
of my
is,
childhood too.
but when I look at the 70s, though, I think it's just as strong as the 80s and the 90s. So I think we could actually make an argument for the 70s as well.
There's probably stuff in the 70s that I did. Well, like you said, Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
I thought Scooby Doo and
Well, that was
Flintstones.
60s. I mean,
Yeah,
Scooby came out in
like,
the 60s. So
I love
you know,
Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. And so,
No, you
yeah,
didn't.
there's tons of that stuff that I really like that I probably, you just don't realize it's from back then.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even talk about the Looney Tunes very much, but Looney Tunes are probably my most favorite cartoons of all time.
You can still watch them today. Like, they hold up. They're that good.
Oh, yeah. And
especially
they're
the racist
funny.
ones are even more funny now because they're that racist.
Oh, my gosh. That's not why they're funny, because they're racist. That's really not what
the
makes
Native
them funny.
American stuff. Whoo, that's some
That ain't
rough
funny.
stuff.
Some of that stuff's not even that funny. Like you watch them, you're like, oh, that's not really that funny. Some of the stuff that's most funny isn't because they can get away with it. It was funny because of the way it's handled.
Well,
Not just because
the
it
rabbit
was.
season, duck season will live forever. Like,
Yeah, that's good.
rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, duck season, duck season, rabbit season. You know what I mean? Like, that's just great.
See, even you messed yourself up right there.
I did, and it's that good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
look at
What's up,
this.
Doc? What's up, Doc?
Astro says 90s had political correctness creeping in. It's true. It was.
What,
It was starting to
Captain
get
Planet?
crazy. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Did Captain Planet come out in the 80s or 90s?
It's got to be 90s.
Are you sure?
It's too. The 80s would never do. The 80s would look at that like as a pussy thing.
It looks like 90. Yep, 90.
Yeah, no, 90s definitely had way more political correctness than the 80s did. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's why Bugs Bunny and that was funny, because they were actually acting it out and making it funny, and it was the way they acted it out. So if you saw somebody do it, it would just make you die. It wasn't because they were being racist. They didn't even know. You know what I mean? So when people go, even the racist stuff, I'm like, the Bugs Bunny cartoons were not even thought of as racist at that time. So they weren't even thinking racism. So I hate that kind of thought process, because I'm like, that's not where they were in their head at all. They were just having fun with everything, and they didn't think it was bad at all. And it really wasn't bad, because they weren't doing it to be malicious. They were doing it for fun.
How many times did Bugs Bunny cross dress like a woman? Like a female?
Yeah, because that's funny. Because back then, seeing a man dressed as a woman was goofy. You know what I mean? It was funny stuff. It wasn't, weird. And now we've put this demented, strange weirdness on it that, it's become distorted. And that's really what it is. I mean, it's really a distorted view, distorted picture. So anyway, 80s wins hands down, because I think it's some of the most influential cartoons ever made. And when I say that, especially on the comic industry, I think more cartoons came out of the 80s that influenced the comic book era than probably any other era. I think you're going to have a hard time beating that one. Because I think I'm right.
I don't know. I don't really see 80s cartoons in any comics, like anything that's even like that.
Well, I mean, like I said, Thundercats was a big one. That's fantasy. I mean, that influenced a lot of fantasy stuff. So did He-Man. Voltron even had elements of fantasy,
but
it was sci-fi fantasy.
But you're saying 80s cartoon, I don't then see that in the 90s comics, or even the 80s comics, where you're seeing.
It totally influenced the 90s comic. You said that about music too, and then I had to prove you wrong.
What?
Like, you never thought music influenced itself from the decade before. And I'm like, you're totally wrong.
That wasn't the conversation. You were saying in every instance, and I was like, it's not every instance. That was our conversation.
What about music?
Yeah.
No, music is influenced completely. What are you
Not
talking
all
about?
the time, though, or you wouldn't have unique things.
It's still influenced, Kevin. They're just maybe not ripping something off, but it's influenced. No matter which way you look at it, it always is influenced.
Hmm.
Any music teacher will tell you that. It's true. So
That's just hard to believe, though, because even cultures have their own music, and so where are you getting? You know what I mean? What if they never heard this type of music? So how would you say that influenced them? You know what I mean?
they, yeah, you're talking like primitive shit, but still rhythms and beats had to come from somewhere. So they had to hear some rhythms before. Otherwise, why would they just do it out of the blue?
Yeah, but
Right?
again, you're not getting rhythm like you know what I mean? Someone had to write the
Yeah.
first song, so there has to be things that are unique that
But
someone
that's what I'm
can.
saying. But rhythm, I'm sure tribes heard other tribes, you know? You could hear them in the distance. They would do it before they marched into
But again,
war.
there was a tribe that never had music or heard music, and then they made music.
Possibly. But
What do you mean? It had to
still,
happen.
still, where did they get that rhythm from?
Okay, Adam and Eve didn't hear music. There was no
Where did they
rock
get
and
the rhythm
roll.
from? You already know where a lot of it come from. It's heartbeat and nature. So they were influenced. They were influenced by what was around them, and
Well, I
they
could
picked
see
up
where
on
you
it.
could hear birds singing.
Birds tap.
Music.
Yeah, they're mimicking animals. They're mimicking like hoof pounding. They're
I don't know.
mimicking
I don't. I
feet.
don't. I don't know about everything. I doubt like people heard horses running and they're like, "Oh, that sounds like music." Like I could see birds
Oh,
that
I
like
see. I disagree
sing.
with you wholeheartedly. I'll disagree with you wholeheartedly.
What
So
song sounds like horses? You know what I mean? Like there's no rhythm in that.
there is a rhythm. The gallop,
Yeah.
yeah, that is rhythmic. What are you talking about?
Oh my god, why are you calling me this
Oh,
late?
Black Star was a precursor to He-Man. See, yeah, Black Star. That was another one. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining the show. We I had a great time. This was a good chat tonight.
This was a
You
good show.
guys
Oh
were
man, our chat was on
on
fire
fire.
tonight.
Yeah, they were ready, but I really wish we could leave The Last of Us behind, but you guys are never going to let it die.
It
So
was super gay.
yeah, okay.
Super
Well,
gay.
so the truth about it,
And spoilers, then both the characters die, and it was like, what was the point of this episode? Like, what was the
uh,
point of all that? Terrible writing.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you. So we can talk about it later. But
Yeah.
anyway, everybody, thank you for coming on the show. Next week, we'll settle the dispute of
80's
who
first and
wins.
90s.
Yeah, 80s versus 90s cartoons. We'll see you then. Thank you
Cartoons.
guys. Have a good week. See you later.
Like and subscribe.